Welcome to Magny-Cours. This is round 4 of 5 of the GT World Challenge Europe, powered by AWS. This is the Sprint Series. 2 races this weekend, and get this, we've had 6 races so far, 6 different winners. It's certainly going to be quickfire here today. 2 10-minute qualifying sessions, separated by only 5 minutes. My name's Bruce Jones, joined, I'm delighted to say, by Joe Osborne in the box. So the stage is set.
Yes, and 40 cars on the grid, the biggest field we've ever had here at Magny-Cours. We had 43 at Misano and 40 here for the penultimate round of the GT World Challenge Sprint Series.
Crowd's been patrolling the pit lane at lunchtime, a lot of autographs being signed, but pole is important at every circuit. But with the format of this wonderful sweeping track, getting into the Grand Courbe is vital, so pole is a good place to start.
Yeah, you can see 17 corners packed into this 4.4 kilometre track here at Magny-Cours. The drivers love it. This last chicane, 16-17, very tricky. We have some track limits to pay attention. We'll touch on that in qualifying where we need to be careful of it. But overtaking, very good round here. Turns 5 and 14 stand out, but there's possibilities at 9 and 16 also.
Opened in 1960, it was a little French circuit. Then come 1990, the building was underway and a French Grand Prix held here from 1991 onwards. Middle of France, as we said, but still they've packed in a good crowd here today and be even bigger on the Sunday. And the weather pretty nice, about 21 degrees air temperature, track temperature about 24. So conditions really pretty conducive to getting what you want out of your cars.
Yeah, right in the middle of the road, what the drivers and teams would want. We had a very hot Misano last time out and teams struggling to keep tyres in the operating window. Here, they will be less critical on tyre pressure. So we might see 2 laps in qualifying before the tyre drops off. And that gives the driver a chance to get their eye in. Here you can see the 2 Barwell Lamborghini. Sandy Mitchell has been very quick. Hugo Cook, the teammate in that car, taking part in Q1 today. And they've been strong at times, but haven't managed to really get the string of results they would have wanted thus far.
Well, I think that's the story of the series. As I said, 6 different races, 6 different winners, 9 different manufacturers here. It can go really any which way. But just to reiterate, we've got not all 40 cars go out in qualifying together. It's split pretty much down the middle, 21-19. Explain the difference, Joe, between the 2 qualifying sessions.
Yeah, to try and make qualifying purer, we're splitting it in half. If we had all 40 cars out there on track, it would be almost impossible to get a clean lap. So we're going to run an A and a B, essentially. So we're going to get the silver and bronze cars together, and then we will get the pro and gold. So it's 2 for the price of 1 this qualifying session, and then we combine those sessions. So that's sometimes where it's been difficult. This year it's been fair. Zandvoort stuck out for me, where there was a slight advantage in the first run, and that maybe promoted those cars. But here, I think with the track temperatures, like you've said, Bruce, being pretty stable, I think the A and the B session will be very similar. It's maybe slightly quicker in B because there'll be more rubber down.
Yeah, in theory, but one of the beauties about Magny-Cours is a circuit. You said when you were looking at the track map, Turn 5, the slowest corner of the entire championship. It's the Adelaide hairpin at the top of the hill, and there is gradient change here at Magny-Cours. The other one you're talking about was further around. We do see people up at the chicane, the second chicane, the uphill Imola chicane, trying to make moves, but often that leads to tears there, and then down into that final corner. But overtaking is possible here at Magny-Cours.
Yeah, it is, but as we've seen so much, pole position is very strong. And another thing that's been strong here in the past is Mercedes. This is our 9th time here racing, and 4 of those wins have gone to Mercedes. So it's been a very strong Mercedes track, and I do fancy that Boutsen VDS car just coming to shot there. The number 9 is my tip to be well up there in today's qualifying.
It's wonderful with this fantastic drone shot. The sun suddenly glinting off the cars, so it lit up the Boutsen VDS cars. But I must say, these cars look fantastic. Of course, the GT World Challenge powered by AWS, competing in Asia this weekend as well at Okayama. Last weekend, Sandown in Australia, the Virginia International Raceway in the States. So wherever you want to be in the world, GT3 racing, it is absolutely global. And the standards have risen and risen. It really strikes me every time I come back into the series. But new faces too. Chris Lullum is one of the stories of this year. Last year, he was hiding indoors, doing it all in iRacing form, but he's taken to the tracks, returned to the tracks. He has raced before, and it's been outstanding.
Yeah, has been a real breath of fresh air. Not just his pace, but his racecraft and moves we've not seen before done. So it's great to get someone from the sim world in and showing how the synergy between the two is so prevalent these days. Thomas Neubauer in the 50 car there, ready to go. Part of an all-French lineup in the 50A, of course. Ferrari, of course, sharing with Arthur Leclerc. Here's the 51 car. Won the first race of the year back at Brands Hatch. That feels like a long time ago. And we've got Alessio Rivera in today. You can just see the Mustang going underneath us there as well. That's the other all-French driver lineup in that 84 car. So some home support for those two cars.
Yeah, it was certainly good during the autograph session to see so many people looking out the home drivers. A little bit of extra pressure for them, but for all of them, 19 and 21, there's a division between the groups. It's still going to be busy on track because just remember, it's a very, very quick fire qualifying format. We will, I'm sure, get some drivers losing lap times because of track excess. And the places I noticed this morning in other categories, the downhill chicane, Nürburgring, turns 6 and 7, drivers getting pinged for exceeding track limits there. And then on the uphill run, after you've gone around turn the 180 corner at the bottom of the hill, up to turn 11 and 12, and that is where drivers are certainly being picked up for exceeding track limits. Hopefully they won't, but the very nature of the beast is they will.
Yeah, and that's where we're coming to now into the Nürburgring chicane. It's the left that the driver's cut. You can see the curb is so rubbered in because it's getting in your way as a driver. That's how it feels as you go through there. You're like, I could go much faster if I didn't have to take this left-hander. So you get greedy. The rule is you've got to keep one tyre on the white line. Like tennis, if there's chalk dust, you're legal, and that's going to be the same for the drivers. There's cameras in place on the exit of 3, on the exit of 5, 6, 7, 12, 13, and 17. And the entry of turn 1. So there's really no hiding these days, and that goes straight to race control. And there's a dedicated team up there just focusing on track limits, and you'll see lap times come on the board and then taken away once they've been adjudged to be guilty of that.
You sometimes feel they're almost busier than the drivers sitting up there, but certainly that rear shot into the downhill turn 7 and 8, one of my favourite shots in global motor racing. Right. Only 4 cars out on track at the moment. We'll see the pace being picked up, and they'll be hoping, of course, that when they come round to start their flying lap, there isn't a flurry of cars coming out into the path. This is the entry to Grand Cours. What a fantastic first corner, such a sweeping bend. You reckon that's top gear?
Yeah, it's nearly flat as well for drivers there. They're 5th gear, they could pull 6th, but they run 5th, 220 kilometres an hour through there. Now we exit turn 3 and we go onto this long back straight. We'll get all the way up to 6th gear, 255, 260 kilometres an hour before they hit the brakes for, like you said, Bruce, the slowest corner. So we go from a high speed to a low speed, 45 kilometres an hour here. First gear, you've got to rotate the car because we've got another long straight, so the exit is important. And then we go onto this Nürburgring chicane where you were talking about the track limits.
Yeah, it's through the little left-hand king that doesn't really count a corner. This is the one that most certainly does. Look at the rear shot, how much curb is being used. Judicious, but boy, a lot of movements for the car as it's now needing to go left in the second pass of that turn. Yeah,
looked illegal to me. There was daylight between his tyres and the white line, using too much of the apex curb on the inside. And now we've got another full commitment chicane, Imola. Similar on entry, slightly slower, slightly tighter on the first part, but it's a big sausage curb that defends that curb, and that can sometimes force drivers wide, and then they end up running into the gravel on exit. Looks clean so far. This is going to be a tidy lap, but this won't be pushing for pole position. Just looking at sectors to qualifying last year, we're about 2 seconds off, so I'd expect this lap to probably be in a high 1:37 for BJ Garg in the 76 Lamborghini.
But, of course, in such a short qualifying session, you do need to put your banker lap in. But maybe if there are fewer cars on the track around you, maybe you go for it on your very first lap. It's about what you're going to find going well. Talking of going well, good to see the Mustang getting some good speed. Roman Andriolo, fairly tidy lap so far. Only 2 qualifying laps on the board. His is the best so far. 1:37.4 seconds ahead of Bijoy Garg by 1/4 of a second.
Yeah, as we see Paul Everard here, purple sector 2, so the fastest out of anyone thus far. He's on the headlight flasher. Car getting out the way well. You can see the speed differential there. It was another Audi, wasn't it? One of the Tresor cars doing well to keep out the way. Not using too much curb through the chicane. You will see differences in cars as well as drivers. That goes first now, 37.2. Expects pole to be in the 35s though.
Okay, but Paul Everard having another good season, running second with Gilles Magnus in the gold class, so we'll keep an eye on that one. But just to reiterate, when we get the pro class runners, we've got the top 3 cars covered by just 1 point in the championship. Now, though, we have to focus on what is happening out on the circuit in there. This is Group 1A in qualifying, 10 minutes, and it's already counting down very, very quickly indeed. Tom Fleming, get used to him as a Ferrari racer. Of course, that's where he came from, the Ferrari racing scene, but really going very nicely indeed for Garage 59.
Yeah, pole there at the moment by half a second clear, but but the times will keep tumbling. Jim Pla, look at that. That shows you traffic. Even though we've only got half the field out, he'd done the fastest sector 1, a good sector 2, then got held up by the Emil Freycard Lapalainen. Now is stuck between that and the Al Manamar 777 WRT BMW. So he's backed out of sector 3 and he's going to set up another lap now. But is he going to compromise the 777 car? And we've seen penalties given for that, as well as we see one of the Grasser cars. And there's Neubauer in the 50A, of course, Ferrari sweeping through this chicane, 12 and 13, and then a hard break at 14.
3 drivers so far have lost times for track limits. At 7 and 11 we talked about. Also turn 3, that's golf. After you've gone through the first corner Grand Courbe, the second kink, that's where you're turning right, the lowest point. And absolutely, if it's natural for your car to want to run right, but you've got to try and resist it. Of course, you're trying to build your momentum for that long, long run, and it is a climb from there. You look at a circuit map, everything seems flat. Do a track walk here, you'll know about it going up to Adelaide. Yeah,
excellent pole. That's what we thought in the 35s. Neubauer 6/10 behind with that. That is good enough for second at the moment, but we expect at least, I think, 12 to 13 cars to be covered by a second in this half qualifying session. Once we get B in, I expect 20 cars to be within a second. Rivera now purple, sector 1 by a long way. He's got one of the Rutronic Porsches, but I think he's going to be clean here as he comes through this final part. It's a good sector 2 as well. Can he keep it clean through this final part of the Magny-Cours circuit?
Yeah, shame to blow it right at the end. The final sequence of corners super tight, but at the top of the hill, that Chateau d'Eau, then the drop down, and again going very wide indeed. But the beauty for him as he comes down under the bridge there is, and he kinks to the left, he's got to haul it right down. There is nobody immediately in front of him. He will not be compromised. So everything he's done thus far in that, bit of a drift there, but desperate to get back on the power over the curb. Oh boy, does the suspension have to work hard here, but just waiting for that time to go on the board. And he goes into second place, just 43 thousandths of a second down, but he's immediately been pushed back down the order. Has that time been taken away? Let's have a little look.
T17. And that's where we saw it as well, and that's the unfortunate nature of it, and the driver will be told straight away, but they've got to keep pushing. But as the peak of the tyre gone for that AF Course Ferrari, that's going to be the problem now, and there's so many lap times being deleted, so we've got to keep an eye. But Engstler at the moment is 4.5 tenths clear of Niederhaus in the 96 Rutronic Porsche.
So we just want to see if well, the top clock's going to count down, but often if you blow it at the final corner, it affects not 1 lap, but 2 laps there. But on we go, on goes the clock. So it's Lamborghini from Porsche, from McLaren, from Ferrari, Engstler, Niederhauser, Pla and Lullam at the top of the timesheets. And quite right, another timing screen is just showing how many laps are being removed for driver penalties. Benji Goethe, winner last time out at Misano, first win in the Sprint Series for 9 years for McLaren, and he'll be on a high, but he's not on high in the charts. He's down in 9th place at the moment in that McLaren.
Yeah, and here is the 51 car, and you're right. In the race director's briefing notes, if you did a track limit on 17, you lose the next lap because you're carrying momentum onto your next lap. So this could be a lap that's chalked off before he's even started it for Alessio Rivera in the 51 car. It's not as strong as his first lap either. Jim Pla seems to be the master of sector 1. That's 2 purple sectors at least I've seen for the 111 car, currently in 3rd place.
Well, the clock's counting down, just over a minute to go, so we've just got to see what Rivera can do next time around effectively. Who else is making the moves? Waiting for Jim Pla, as you mentioned, the CSA Racing McLaren racer, so many years a Mercedes racer. He's sharing with Simon Gachet, who's had success here before, outright winner several years ago, back in 2020 it was. It seems like a blink of an eye, but what will be a blink of an eye is what's left on the clock. 40 seconds remaining, waiting to see what a car that's featured so strongly. Lucas Auer and Mauro Engel, so much success over the years, but right at the sharp end, second on the Sprint Championship, overall European Series leaders, and waiting for them to get a time properly on the board. And it's just not working their way as yet. Luca Engstler goes, he's had a time taken away. We had a time in the 1 minute 35s. That's been removed. 1 minute 36.0 for him. Still top of the charts, though. Yeah, and that took a long time to get removed. That felt like it was there for a couple of laps after he did it. Here's Lucas Stoltz in that 9 car. I thought this was going to be much higher up the order. He could have lost laps as well. He did, didn't he? He lost it for turn
number 7 early on, and that's where you get this topsy-turvy nature of it. All drivers will be taking checkered flags, so everyone is on their last lap for qualifying now.
Yeah, this is absolutely it, and it's just about finishing it. As we saw a while ago with Rivera, the final corner of the lap can be one that bites you and you lose the whole show. But Lucas Stoltz down in 10th place will not be happy with that. The checkered flag flies. He moves up to 6th place, so he did find an improvement. At the moment, he's just under 4/10 down on provisional pole. It's still provisional because not everybody's finished. The Rutronic 96 Porsche doesn't bother sitting in 2nd place, doesn't complete the lap. Patrick Niederhauser into the pits. Who else is making a move? How about Rivera at the moment, sitting down in 19th? It's what we call last place. He's taken the checkered flag. That was a car that could and should have been fighting for pole.
Yeah, mainly because he did a turn 17 exit. He lost 2 of the laps, and he's only got 3 on the board, and that's why. And actually, Stoltz doing a purple sector 3, so he did well to get the car up there. Goethe here still on a push. Middle sector has dropped away slightly, but he'll still be able to push. Big drift on the exit there.
He's down in 12th place. You can see it alternating with his first 3 letters of his surname on the windscreen lights, but he's coming down the hill. There's a bit of traffic. Maybe he's just far enough, but it depends. If that Audi in front of him backs off and just reports the pits, lights are flashing from Goethe. He's down the inside, so well done to the Audi driver, keeping out of the way. I'm keeping my finger by the screen. 12th, that's not where one of the winners from the 2nd race in Misano would want to be. Does he go too wide out of the final corner? I won't be the judge on that one. Will he improve? He stays in 12th place.
Yeah, it was an improvement lap time, not in position. I thought we'd have 13 cars within a second. It's 16 within a second, out of 19. And a lot of those track limits affected as well. So that shows you how tight it is around here. And that's why the drivers are rolling the dice on the track limits, because you've got to extract every last millisecond out of it. And the guy who's done it the best, this guy, Luca Rensler, 63, pole position 36.0. I think the B session are going to be looking at this and seeing the track limits as a real issue, and maybe just bring it back 1% or 2. And I think we could see an upset here, potentially a silver class or a bronze class car on pole is my prediction.
Right, I'm transferring you immediately out of the commentary box. You're suddenly wearing a team manager's hat. You've got one of the cars, one of the 21 cars going out in the 2nd session, which is qualifying B group, if you will. Do you go out early? Do you hang back? Where do you put your runner?
It looks like the tyre has a peak of 1 lap that we've seen a lot this year, but with so many cars doing track limits, do you trust your driver to only give them time to do 1 or 2, or do you send them earlier? So if they do track limits, for example, on 17 on their first flyer, and that was the problem here with the 51, not a single lap time recorded because of track limit offences. That is a huge no-no for one of the hottest drivers in the market right now. Alessio Rivera has had an awful qualifying session and is going to be starting at best last in this. And when you combine them, he's going to be 39th or 40th.
Yeah, there we are. It's a long time. You said seems a long time since the opening round at Brands Hatch when he and Vincent Abril took victory in the first of the 2 races there. And for the red and yellow of course, a Francorchamps Motors car, that will be a massive, massive disappointment. But it will have to be a lesson to everybody else who's going out in the 2nd of the qualifying session. In fact, he's walking away without really looking back. That was a disaster for Rivera, but it certainly knitted a story into this evening's race. Now we've got to do it all over again. 2 extra cars. We've gone from 19 cars in that first group. And just as a refresher, Luca Engstler taking pole in his group, the front as high as you can be, 1 minute 36.094 seconds. The car sitting alongside is very tidily 2nd in the group. That's Patrick Niederhauser's Rutronic Racing Porsche. And the best of the rest was Jim Pla, not for Garage 59 in the McLaren world, but CSA. CSA Racing in car 111, 3rd, and they're covered by 0.2 of a second. Here are those times for you to take a look at. So Luca Engstler, top of the pile by the blink of an eye. He did set a time in the 1 minute 50.35s. That was taken away. A lot of drivers had their times taken away. Look all the way down to the bottom though. Alessio Rivera, the Ferrari number 51, no time recorded because they were all removed for track limit excess. Going back to the front of the field, Lucas Auer managed to get up into 4th place. Remember, he's 2nd in the Sprint Championship, leading the European Championship. Good, solid job. Head of another Mercedes racer, Lucas Stoltz, and Chris Lullum, yet again showing he's adapted from sim racing to the real world to be 6th fastest and top in gold. In fact, he's top in the gold class overall as well. But really bragging rights in that quick-fire first qualifying session. Luca Engstler, 2 good, really good laps. 1 got taken away, but his 2nd one is still good to be at the top of the charts in Group 1A by 1/10 of a second. But it's easier to stumble than to nail it. And Let's have a little listen. This is the 111 Racing. Listen to the radio.
And correction, that's P3. After the track limits of somebody else, that's P3. Best lap, Engstler, Lamborghini 36.1, 36.2, Niederhauser, and you 36, almost 3.
Well, car looks great, goes very well, Joe, and that was a very, very tidy job by Jim Pla, and good to see him at the front. You know, for the French fans, that's fantastic news. They've got one of their own right at the front of the field here at Magny-Cours. Just about enough time to mop the brows of the drivers. The second drivers are being... the first drivers in the second group of cars ready to go. 21 runners coming out to play. So very nearly a 50-50 split in terms of our 40-car field, but it's only 10 minutes, and they're seeing exactly the corners at which people are being pinged. Turn 3, which is Estoril, turn 7 on the way down the slope at Magny-Cours, turn 11 on the way back up, and turn 17, the final corner, which is the one with the double whammy. As you pointed out, Joe, you lose not just that lap, as we saw for Alessio Rivera, but the following one as well. So it really is the ultimate no-no.
Yeah, it feels like a double-edged sword, 17 exit, doesn't it? The reason it happened so prevalent is you saw how much curb they used through the chicane, the drivers, and the car bucks off that left hand, the last apex curb, and you land and the car needs to go right, otherwise you're going to spin. So what do? You go slower, and then you're not on the lap time, and that's the gun you have to your head as a driver in qualifying. Even worse in a short session on a very peaky tyre as well. So yeah, 4 cars out on track. Does feel like cars are heading out slightly earlier in this session now than the A session, the 93 Ziggo Sport Tempesta Ferrari run by AF Course. 4 cars for AF Course here, so huge operation as ever for that very well-drilled Ferrari team. You can see how tight it is in the pit lane. That looked like a tyre for the Ferrari, but it was actually a line-speed Porsche. The mechanics having to work alongside one another, even though they're from various teams.
So wonderful blaze of colour. The sun has dipped behind a cloud right now, but still track conditions very kind indeed. Just under 24 degrees track temperature, air temperature sitting just a few degrees cooler, just below 21 degrees. But it's not really about tyre temperature right now. It's about track position. It's about staying between the white lines at various points on the circuit. But the ultimate damage is the final corner. If you're going to blow your lap, blow it at lap 3, then at least you can back it off, gather yourself for the following one. But if you blow it at 17, it wrecks that lap and the lap that follows. And you don't have a lot of time in a 10-minute session to put in extra laps. Your point as well is these Pirellis for qualifying seem absolutely to have a peak of 1 lap, possibly squeak a fairly good second lap, but it's all about focus. And for teams like QMMF, the crew from Qatar really getting stuck in, it's still a learning process, and you know, it's absolutely every lap has to count.
Yeah, and qualifying following a pretty wet pre-qualifying session yesterday as well. So limited dry running this weekend for a few teams, and the drivers, the purple flashing light there showing it's a bronze driver upon the car. That's more useful in the race for other drivers, but still it will be on all the bronze class cars with their bronze driver. And you can see that Qatari Audi potentially going to catch Jake Dennis there in the Parody 991 BMW there, but looking tidy so far. The Qatari cars definitely getting stronger as the season's gone on. We saw it very high up on the timing sheets in one of the Marzano sessions, and hopefully they can continue that now.
Yeah, it's all about learning as they go. So Hanim Al-Mahid, the good thing for him, he got very close to Jake Dennis as they went up to the Adelaide hairpin, but of course Jake on his outlap is now starting to pick up his pace, so he won't interrupt the number 27 Audi that's pushing very, very nicely indeed. It's a big learning curve up in front. The other one of the Paradigm competition BMW's weaving around to get heat in its tyres, but luckily for Al-Mahdi, not quite upon them. He needs them to pick up right to the edge of the circuit, and somehow just managed to bring it back in. That was the exit of the Imola sweepers, 11 and 12. Now at Chateau d'Eau, the top hill, he wants Dennis to get the move on, does not want his first flying lap interrupted. Is Dennis going to get out of the way? No, the lights are flashing, he does get out of the way.
Wow.
That was quite a late choice there, but anyhow, Al-Mahdi having to be very, very positive, doesn't want to blow it, still got a chance to blow it because this is 16, 17, the final corner's the critical one. Looks as though I think he might have just kept it in within the white lines. He gets the first lap on the board, but a 1 minute 39.9 might be okay for him, but it won't be for anyone else.
That Spinelli on board, he was on a mega lap there and got balked massively at the last corner. He's going to be furious there, the 26 Audi in front. That was a lap that was going to be a low 36, and then suddenly lost a second and a half in that last sector. Someone flying along well is Eddie Cheever in the 93 Tempesta car.
Well, he goes top, but 1 minute 37.5 was not what he's looking for, and that would slightly compromise the start of his next lap. Riding on board with Eddie Cheever, 17 turns around the circuit. 4 corners potentially in which you can exceed track limits. This is the descent, and it's a marked descent from Chateau d'Eau down to that final 3-corner sequence of Lycée.
Yeah, this is Kobe Powers going through the last set of it now. Looks legal on board, crosses the line, 36.9. You'll see the Sky Tempesta car in the background. I think he's going to better it. We jump on board with them. He does, goes P1, Eddie Cheever, 36.6 at the moment. If you look on the timing tower on the left, you can see Cheever's fast in the session, only 11th overall. What can Bastien Booz do? Crosses the line, goes second in this session. That slots him 13th on the combined times.
Okay, expect those to improve. That was a very, very wide line, the approach to Grand Cours. That's not a corner in which they've been pinged for track limits thus far. Who is on the move? 21 cars out in this second qualifying session. Only 9 have achieved qualifying laps. 10 have now done so. Eddie Cheever, top of the charts, 1 minute 36.6. We reckon cars should be in the 1 minute 35s. We had one in the first session. That time got taken away. Still, I think the fastest time, 1 minute 36.0 seconds. Time is coming. It might be coming from Kobe Powers. Bastien Booz sitting in second place. Eddie Cheever, top of the charts at the moment. Jake Dennis, expect it next time round from him, one would think, the driver from Nuneaton.
Yeah, that was a very underbaked lap. I expect more of it. The throttle sounded messy in Sector 3 as we look at a very dominant bronze class car this year, the 74 car. It was on a double purple lap, but they've already done track limits there, so this lap isn't going to count, so they need to wind it up once more. So Dennis Marshall goes fastest overall into the 35s, but look at that, the track limit abuse. Yes, we've not seen people pinged at one, but there is a camera there, so I don't know if that is where they were done, but we're getting told he's going to lose the lap he's on.
Well, it's the first one, the second lap overall that's in the 1 minute 35s, 1 minute 35.8. But of course, what's counting down? The clock is counting down. Only 3¼ minutes remain. Who else is making the moves? Marcus Siebert now goes up into second place. Car number 52, 1 minute 36.2. So it's a good lap, but it's still not one that would get him right to the front end of the grid. But good to see him going well in that red and green, of course, Ferrari.
Yeah, here's Jake Dennis again aboard the 991, and we've got that Audi in front, and that was the Audi we let go on the outlap. I was surprised Jake Dennis did it. Is it going to hurt him as he comes into Sector 3? Potentially, he'll be ruining that mistake of not staying in front and pushing. A couple of more brake zones to go. We've got this easy flat kink through 14, hard brake at 15, then that chicane. Is that Audi going to compromise us? Potentially not now. He'll be focusing on just keeping a clean exit. You can see on the Delta, he's 4/10 up at the moment. That's going to put him on to a low 37, maybe into a 36. He crosses the line. It is a 36, P9 in session.
2 minutes 15 seconds remain. Loris Spinelli, remember, he got compromised right at the end of his first flying lap, and at the moment he's way down the charts, 18th position overall. Another lap on the board will move him up the order to 7th, so he puts Dennis back to 10th. But not at the sharp end of the field. Still 8/10 of a second down. Now, what can Dennis Marshall do? He's got the fastest time. We were told it might be taken away. He's trying to do another to cement that. He does a 1 minute 30, just waiting for that to...
And 8 is miles
38.
off.
So
the other thing that's miles off, every time we see him, he's off the track. And yes, you're only getting done at particular corners, but I think he's rolled the dice. And at the moment, it's stuck. He's kept that lap. We were told it was going to get removed, but at the moment, it's staying there as the Come2U team look on. Kobe Powell's one of their drivers, 8th overall, second in the silver class, behind Marcus Silbert. Gone slightly under the radar there in the Ferrari, but 5th overall in the 52 car.
Well, it's fingers crossed for Kessel Racing. 1.5 minutes remain now. One of your favourites, so Boots and VDS, we knew they were going to go well. Aurelien Panis not yet even in the top half of this qualifying session, which will put him in the bottom half overall. Quite simply, you know, way down the order. Expect Aurelien to do better than that, but he's picking up the pace. All you could do is improve your pace. He's doing it in the first timing sector, down into 12th place. And I mean, the dynamics of that Mercedes as Panis pushes so hard, trying to be neat and tidy at the top of the hill. Chateau d'Eau, well, completely off the circuit there. That's not a corner they're being pinged at, though.
No, exactly. It's not being policed on the exit, so he should get away with that. He is flashing his headlights. You've got to be in the 36.8 to get on this top half of the timing pages. You're going to get held up here through the last parts. The 19 Grasser car, I don't think so, but all the cars starting to bunch together, aren't they, as he crosses the line, 11th in his session.
Any changes? Marvin Dietz picked up the pace, car number 81. That was last time around. Winward Racing, he's taken over the drive, normally occupied by Gabriele Piana, doing a very good job, the German racer there. Right, who is going to make the moves? The move has to get someone into 1 minute 35.8. That was a real pickup at the end of the lap, turn 15. And the Audi there, car number 66, really, really struggling to get any grip whatsoever. That's Dylan Pereira he's right down towards the bottom of the field.
Yeah, they finished pre-qualifying fastest out of all 40 cars, but in very different conditions, of course. Here is Deans coming through at the moment. Good sectors coming together. There's not many cars putting green sectors together. This Winwood Mercedes is one of those to buck the trend, though. As I said, coming through this flat-out kick, where's he going to put this car in the order?
Well, I tell you what, he's a magician. He suddenly found endless space around him for this final shot. As you said, one green sector followed by another. Can he complete it tidily? The checkered flag has been flying for about 10 seconds now. This will be his last lap. Stays within the confines of turn number 17 and stays in 7th place overall. He did improve by a fraction, but not enough to go to the top. It's still Dennis Marshall from Siebert at the very top of the field. First and second, Ferrari from Ferrari. Third place, Kobe Powell, Aston Martin. And a good run from Rafael Suzuki in his Aston Martin to sit in 4th place at the moment. So Come To You Racing have done their sums for the track temperature as it is right now.
Yeah, missed the last round was Arno due to a clash, but good to get him back in the car and performing well. Second in the bronze class, as we see Klemenko coming across the line in the 26 car, and it just shows you how competitive a very fast driver, silver graded, but we saw a stint and a half out of him at Zandvoort early in the year, but he's not in the top half at the moment, is he? And just looking down the order, we have 27 cars within a second, so it is very tight. And at the moment, Marshall out there, and quite clear out there, 4/10 clear of second place in this session and fastest overall.
So that is qualifying. Everybody who went out will have taken the flag. And just waiting to see Dennis Marshall still at the top of the time charts. 1 minute 35.856 seconds. Loris Spinelli there in the Lamborghini will have been frustrated because certainly his first fly, when he had fairly clear track, but he got compromised by an Audi right into that final sequence of corners. 15, 16, 17, they're so close together. It doesn't just compromise that lap, it's the following one as well. So he'll feel really rather aggrieved. This is how it goes. Thank goodness we didn't put all 40 cars out together.
You asked me when would I send my car out, and I kind of said early, didn't I? But after watching Spinelli's, I would change that and go, I would have gone late, and then you wouldn't have had that traffic there. And he's on an in-lap now, but let's listen in on the 74 car. There's some interesting radio.
Checker flag is out. P1 at the moment. No one is improving lap time. Yes! Yes! Good job, guys! Yes! Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Diego. Thank you, mechanics. Very nice. Yes, crazy. Thank you.
Well, you are Nostradamus. You predicted we might have a car from the Blondes class on pole position, and for now, Dennis Marshall has only just gone and done that. So Dustin Blattner in the garage will be also equally excited. The 74 Kessel Racing Ferrari, 1 minute 35.8 seconds, top of the pile. Gosh, that was frenetic, those two sessions. Bang, 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 we're through. But let's go down and hear the number 74 crew. This is for the Rover Pole Award. Let's hear their thoughts.
Dennis Marshall, my goodness me, what an incredible lap that was. Now, historically, this has been won 5 times from pole position, but how tricky is it going to be to do it here this year, Magny-Cours?
So, well, to win overall is actually the chance of 0, of course, because we start in bronze class, but of course we try to win the class result later on. But qualifying was very good, yes, I'm very happy with that.
Congratulations. Just talk us through that lap. That was stunner.
Yeah, sure, the lap was good. However, I collected a track limit on the outlap. So on the marshalling system inside the car, it showed me a track limit, and there was a lot of communication going on the fastest lap. And usually I'm the guy, I just want silence. I don't want anyone to talk to me. So there wasn't too much talking, also from my side, from the team side during the fastest lap, which didn't help. But I'm very happy. It was enough for pole. And yeah, thank you to the team. Thank you to Kessel Racing for giving me a great car.
Congratulations, beautifully done. And now MG will present the Rover Pole Award to... Congratulations.
Well, let's take a look at that lap. Neat and tidy, and Dennis tidying up our confusion about the track limits. That was on his out lap, but he concentrated, put those 2 purple sectors together, completed the lap. 1 minute 35.856 seconds, but you have to work the curbs here. If you don't, you're nowhere. If you work them too hard, you're also nowhere.
Yeah, you can see why he's getting track limits. He's only got 3 tyres touching the ground through that chicane, and that's the 7th different pole position for the sprint season this year. That's never happened before, and shows you how competitive it is.
Certainly is. In the end, nearly a quarter of a second. That's a big margin around a track like this, so it shows what an excellent lap it was. Dennis Marshall ahead of Lucas Hensler, who put his Lamborghini the top of the class, the first of the two classes. Patrick Niederhauser third fastest in the best of the Porsches. Jim Plyer in his McLaren in fifth place, and Marcus Siebert, great job from the Argentinian racer to be fifth. He's top in the Silver Cup class, and going through the class, of course, got the bronze at the top. Top car in gold is Chris Lullum, ninth overall in his Ferrari. And bear in mind that our sprint series leaders, their car, Charles Weerts and Kelvin van der Linde, down in 10th place. But that is dreamland in comparison of where Alessio Rivera, winner of the opening race, finds himself. 40 cars came out to play, 39 set a time. He didn't, his were taken away, so he'll be starting stone last this evening in the number 51 Ferrari and will be kicking himself. You could be absolutely sure of that. But really, hats off to Dennis Marshall and to Kessel Racing, a bronze car on pole. Second time he's taken pole in the championship. It is enjoyment to the GT World Challenge. It's quick fire, it's fun, but it'll be a lot of frustrated drivers out there just push too hard.
Yeah, we are long facing the prancing horse stable of AF Course, but Kessel's first pole position in the sprint series.
Well, let's take a look back at the highlight. There was a brief flurry of sunshine, and then there was a huge flurry of action on the track. Chris Lullum pushing really, really hard from the outset. Alessio Rivera riding on board with him here. 51 AF Course of Ferrari, thinking this would be right at the sharp end of the field. So far, so good. Top of the hill. That was Chateau d'Eau. Only 4 more corners to come, but he got it wrong at the final corner, and it cost him 2 laps, left him with no time. And others making moves. Jim Plyer in the number 111 CSA Racing McLaren was at the sharp end of the field. So was Patrick Niederhauser. He went second in the first of the 2 qualifying sessions, but it was topped by the driver of car number 63, the Lamborghini, that took the fastest time in those first sectors. Then we went into the second session on the track, and people pushing on, trying to make clear space for themselves out on the track and trying to remember to stay within the white lines. But it came down to Dennis Marshall doing a fantastic job, and he would go on to take pole position in the number 74 Ferrari from Kessel Racing.